Yo guys, what's going on? Robert Warshack here. We are back at it again with another Hearthstone video. This one's going to be the best decks I saw day one of the new expansion. We just finished streaming for just shy of about 10 hours. And I would say a pretty interesting day. We saw a decent amount of new decks pop up, but also whenever a new expansion comes out, we just see a lot of old decks with maybe one, if not two new cards in them, because those refined decks, they're going to beat up on the people trying to do new things with new decks, and then the new decks are not as refined. But new decks that seemed really good and I saw a decent amount of today was going to definitely be the Shaman. Mugsy Shaman, whether it was the all minion one or the all spell one, saw a decent amount of both of those today. However, it's a little weird with the Shaman because both decks just aim to play minions. So if you have the all spell Shaman, your first minion each turn costs 2 less. So pretty much you're always going to be wanting to play a minion in this deck. And then the all minion one, you're also just playing a minion every turn. So there's really not too much of a difference between the two Shaman decks because both of them aim to just play minions out and get as much value from them as possible, or cheat out larger minions for earlier when you have the passive being your first minion each turn costs 2 left if your deck has only, spells in it minus the Mugsy himself. So we have Blazing Invocation, discover a Battlecry minion, it costs 1 less. You hit like Fire Elemental, generally costs what, 5, and then you have a -2 plus the -1 on it, so you have like a 2 mana Fire Elemental, which is a 6/5 deal 4. Again, just cheating out large minions for early because this meta, there's not a lot of removal in the meta right now. So it is looking like it is a play as many stats as fast as possible. Your opponent doesn't have AoE because there is no AoE. And then you win. Pretty much why Vanessa is so powerful right now, and pretty much every tempo deck runs her. So low security, get a random Shaman minion, it's locked in your hand until you play another card. It's pretty easy to just play another card. So the requirement on this location is like nothing. You just get 3 minions that you can discount by 2. The mountain map, you're just playing it because it's going to generate a minion. Sands of Time, again, generate a minion. Ritual Power generates minions and a minion itself. Thunderquake, it's good AoE also, with Farsight in the deck being a decent draw mechanic. We don't want to run too many like 1 and 2 mana cards, so having like the Static Shock in here and then you Farsight into it feels terrible. The Thunderquake feels a bit better. Lightning Storm because they're so aggro. The Molten Gold, which is a 3 mana deal 4, but once you play 3 spells, this turns into a 3 mana, what is it, 3/3 deal 4. In my opinion, it should be like a 3/4 or something, but whatever. It's just a minion that has this battle cry. Clash, it's a spell that juices your other spell that summons 3 minions. Tiny Pal is the new legendary weapon. Frost Shatter to freeze an enemy, draw 2 cards. This turns into a 5/5, freeze something, draw 2 cards. Instant Multiverse, lost a few times to this today. It high rolled into Ultra Gigasaur. Okay. Yeah, just summon a bunch of stuff, and sometimes it's good. Mugsy Storm Fury is the other lifesteal, deal 2 damage to all enemy minions, cast 3 spells to turn into a minion. It's a 7 mana 7/7 with this ability. If you're just playing the spell, it's terrible. If you have the minion, it's a lot better because it's a minion with lifesteal at that point, not just this spell. And then Murden's Last Stand because you're just going to have 0 mana draw. However, if you don't like the way it's built, this is still very, very early on in the expansion. So this is just what I've been seeing as things mature. I'm sure the deck will change. The all spell Shaman was quite popular along, well, like I said, the all minion Shaman, which is passive. Every 5th minion you play triggers its battle cry twice. So having this work with the Skywall Sentinel, so you're doubling your heralds. You actually don't need to play half the herald because when you do play the herald, you're just getting it twice, So having the double herald, having the double battle cry on like gain a mana, discover a 5-cost card, give your minions +1/+1, having +2/+2, along with the fact that you can prep this is insane. You can use it on like Hog Driver, which if you want to play 2 of these guys you can, but it's a 5 mana 5/2 battle cry, draw 2 cards. If they're both minions, gain charge. Stag Claw is something that I saw a decent amount today, and that seems like there's a bug with the passive hero power with Stag because it's like triggering the trigger and then triggering that trigger, and I think it's procking a little bit more than it should. But Stag, because most of the cards in this are like elementals, it's pretty easy to get Stag to go off. Ultra, again, just really great with the passive hero power. Vanessa, pretty much found in every deck that is good right now. She is just an app. She's gonna get nerfed for sure. Alakir, because you do have Herald, and then Deathwing, obviously, for Herald. We have the sub 3 Druid, which is a brand new deck, and it's quite interesting, and I think it's gonna be quite powerful once it gets leamed out. It's the start of the game. Your deck only has cards that cost 3 or less. Set your mana to 10 after 5 turns. Guaranteed ramp. You're absolutely going to be able to get to where you want to go. So the entire deck is sub 3, so you have like all the early game. So we built it more like Token Druid. We have like Spiderling and Living Roots. We have like Mark of the Wild or Moss Binding that we can play early. We follow those up with like the Hatchery Helper to be able to buff them up in the very, very early games. Once we hit to like anywhere between 5 and 6 mana and we go to 10, we've got like the Chef, which is going to summon a 6 cost with Taunt. We've got the Recipe to draw, and then we also run the Azura's Triumph, which is shuffle 5 random minions into your deck that cost 8 or more and then double their stats. This card's nuts because you have so much draw once you get to 10 mana that you're going to be able to just play massive shit. Definitely a really fun deck. You can get blown out kind of early depending on what your draw looks like. This is the way I built it. There's definitely room for it to be better, but overall it was we're still tweaking it, but very, very, very fun. And then also the Spider Rider, 2 mana 1/4. After your hero attacks, draw a card. This is just, you know, obviously very good with the like special ingredients, but it also is good to get buffed with the Hatchery Helper. So a lot of like, again, it's a big deck, and like once you get your big stuff out, like the Hatchery Helper doesn't do anything, but a lot of your like little minions, like the Spider and the Spiderling and your like Living Roots and your like Moss Binding at like 3 mana, the Hatchery Helper really juices them up. But if you also wanted, you could play Egg, you could play Flock, and then you also could play the Crystal Merchant if you would like, because they all have 1 attack and it would juice them up quite nicely. And then we have everybody's probably favorite deck, and everybody's gonna try, is going to be the Handlock Reform deck. This was actually our highest win rate deck during the theory crafting. We have a video on that. It went, I believe, like 8-1 or something, like 7-1 or something like that. We made a couple modifications to it. I ended up taking out the 2 Hellfires and added in a Blood Mage and a Fractured Power to be able to ramp in the early game, and then also juice up the Shadow rounds. So that was quite nice. Yeah, with the Goffrey, overdrawn cards return to your hand when you have space and they cost 1 less. So just like draw, draw, draw. You never have to worry about overdrawing a Reform. Everything is so expensive. Everything's going to get discounted. And the Spire of Solitude is just absolutely insane. Summon a demon with stats equal to your hand size. It attacks a random enemy minion, 2 durability. You have stuff like the Imp Gang, which is a 3 mana 2/3. Taunt Death Rattle, put a 9/9 demon with Taunt Lifesteal in the bottom of your deck. And then you run cards like Annihilation, which is destroy all minions, summon demons from the bottom of your deck. And you have like Morag, which is also summon a demon from your deck, give it Death Rattle, summon a Morag, and you've got stuff like the Void Lord and a Forge Fiend and Asphyxodon. So just really crazy stuff. And I know someone mentioned the Calamitous Reform being a demon. Most of the time, this card's going to be in your hand. Like you draw Reforms quite quickly in this deck, and then there's so many demons. You're not really playing Morag before Reform comes out. Even if it is, it's like a 1 in 6, 1 in 7. And then on top of that, a lot of the times you don't need really Reform to win. He's just kind of like a tempo card that, like, you know, it's weird to say, but yeah, Reform, you can just play so many and there's not a lot of removal that, you know, playing a Mind Flayer Reform, a 14/14 and following it up with a green Reform is just really, really good. So we played probably like 15-20 games of this, and yeah, like I said, Calamity with the demons getting pulled was never really a problem. So definitely can happen, but wasn't really like a huge problem. All right, and then we have the next, you know, it's definitely a good deck, Face Hunter. The only new card in there is going to be the Arcane Tripwire, which is the 3 mana, deal 5 damage, split among all enemies, and then shuffle 2 spells in your deck that do it again. Because this deck just draws so much with stuff like the tracking and the Tame Pet when you play the Confront, being able to basically draw, you know, most of the time they only have 5 to 10 cards left, so if they play 1 Tripwire, they're most of the time drawing another one, and a 3 mana deal 10 is pretty good for Face Hunter. So yeah, Face Hunter got an insane new card that synergizes with all of their draw, as if Face Hunter needed more help to be better. And then, like I had mentioned at the start of the video, if you're just like kind of unsure of what deck to build, any of the tier 1 or tier 2 decks that were good yesterday are still going to be good right now. You know, you just have people experimenting with new stuff, and a lot of the Herald Shaman, Bubble Paladin, Silverhand Paladin, Dragon Warrior, Spell Demon Hunter, they just have 1 or 2 new cards in them, and then they're obviously very good. There is no right now best like brand new deck that's conquering old stuff. That's gonna take about 3 to 4 days for a nice solidified new deck list for possibly, you know, something to pop up. But the outliers right now are the Shaman, the Druid, and the Handlock Reform, with, you know, the Shamans being definitely the top of the power scale here. But yeah, interested to see what you guys have seen on ladder. This is what I saw, and yeah, we'll see how the meta shapes up in the coming days, and hopefully we have some exciting new top decks. We can only hope it's not Paladin and Hunter. All right, so with that, I'm Robert Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day it is.